Oh, hello. You might be wondering, why is Mr. Siegel looking up pictures of Ryan Gosling? Well, I believe in honesty, and I'll tell you this. I look up pictures of him often. I think he's a really cool dude. And he's a great actor. I mean, just look at his filmography. So many great ones to put out there. I'm not going to go through it. That's not what this video is about. But I will say this. We will also be using Ryan Gosling as an example for what your lab will be. So for the next week, you're going to be working on this project, or really it's a lab, where you'll be making da 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 a university prep book. So it's kind of like Facebook for university prep students. The idea is this. It's very simple. There's a back button and a next button. And what it should let you do is flip through the different students that you know and love at university prep. So if I press next, maybe a different person comes up. Next, a different person picture come up. Next, another person's picture comes up. And on top of that, it'll tell me maybe their name, it'll give me a quote about them, and it'll say a little bit of information, like their superlative. Sorry, I want their superlative up there. Superlatives are like the thing you get in high school that's like best smile, most handsome, whatever it is, right? So those are the things we're going to be doing: image, name, quote, and superlative. And when we press next, we should going through all of them. Now, obviously, this is pretty bare bones. You should be styling this more, and we'll talk more about that. But really, this lesson is about how are we going to make it so when I press the next button, a new person shows up each time. I want a new profile every time I press next. And to do that, what we're going to be using is arrays and objects, right? Everything we've learned about. So let's start off with the code. So far, I've filled in these things, but I'm going to show you the starter code should really have these blanks. So I'm going to snap my fingers and this will all go away. Watch. Gone. And we're starting from scratch. So just to tell you what's going on here, we have a title that says University Prep Book. We have this wrapper div. Oh, what's that? We're using CSS grid. That's correct. And our grid has 3 divs. 1, 2, and 3. Those 3 divs are for the back button, the actual profile, and the next. That's how we got those all to line up before. Now in the script, all we have is we have our back button and next button. We got them saved into these variables, and then we add the event listers so we can press next and back and things happen. So for example, if we open the console, go to console, I press next, it says next, press back, it says back. Why is it doing that? Because I programmed it to. And this is your starter code. So this is where we're going to start it off from. Now, here's what we got to do. Let me tell you the general concept. If we want to make a university prep book, first we need to have a bunch of profiles, okay? And we're going to save all of those profiles into an array. And what this does basically is every time we press next, it's just going to go to the next index of that array. So and remember, an array is just a list. Every time we press next, it'll go up in that array. And when we press back, it's going to go backwards in the array. That's all we're doing. So we should start off by just making an array that holds all our students. So we'll say let students equal, and then we'll just put an empty array for now. Now another thing we're going to do differently, and I just want to be explicit about this, is before in our last video, to create an object, we'd say like let student 1 or something, right? And then we would say equals, and then we'd start writing out our student like this. We'd say like profile, image, and we'd start going in it that way. And then here, we'd actually put student 1, and then we'd student 2, and we put all these variables in here to represent all the different objects. But instead of doing it this way, where we make a variable and then put it inside the array, that's actually a little bit inefficient. We could actually just put the objects directly into the array. So in the array, we're going to go like this, and we're going to just make our first object like this. It doesn't need to be a variable name. We're just putting an object straight up into our array. So this is an object nested inside an array. And this is how we're going to do all our profiles. So our first profile is going to be of Ryan Gosling, or whoever you want to put, someone you like. So the first thing we're going to say is profile image. And in the profile image, we're going to put quotes and a comma. We're going to look up an image of this person. Now I find mine already. Obviously you don't have to do Ryan Reynolds. You should do a friend or a student if you want to, and add that there. Just find an image of that person or whoever they want to be represented by. If they want to be represented by Goku, by all means, put that in there. Now the next thing we need is a name. This is Ryan Gosling. Oops, we need this in quotes. Ryan Gosling. Put a comma. Remember, after each key value pair, we put a comma. Then we're going to put a quote. And we're going to go look up Ryan Gosling quotes. Oh, look, I found one. We'll put that in here. And then another comma at the end of that. And we're going to say superlative. Superlative. And the superlative is most hunky. Because he is hunky. Gotta say it. He is. I gotta respect it. So this would be the profile for our first person in our list. So this is our list. Remember, arrays are just lists. And right now we have one person in our list. This would be at index 0. Now, obviously, if we want to make a good university prep book, we should have multiple people. So let's add another person now. Okay. And we're going to use the same things. We're going to do a profile image, a name, a quote, and a superlative. I want you to start filling this out. I'm once again going to snap my fingers, and you'll see that it's already filled in. So here we go. And boom. That's my second one. And obviously, I use Ryan Reynolds. They're pretty much the same person. Might as well use them. Hopefully, you're using someone from your school. So right now we have 2 students in our array, right? So this is at index 0. There's a comma to go to the next person, and it's at index 1. Now, like I said, to make it so when we press the next and back button, really all we're doing is going to be saying, like, I want to go to the next thing in the array and show that to the user. That's it, right? Go to the next index of the array, show the user. Go back an index in the array, show the user. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up another variable that says count. So we're going to say let count equal 0. So we're going to start at the 0 index. Now when we press the next button, what we want to happen first is we want the count to go up by 1. Right? We want to go to the next. We want to go 1 up in the index. So we just say that by doing count plus plus. You might remember that plus plus means go up by 1. And let's just console log that to the count to make sure that worked. We go down with the back button. We'll do count minus minus. And we'll do console.log count and see if it goes down by 1. So let's see here. We'll open this. We'll inspect it. Console, when I press next, up by 1, up by 2. And you'll see that it keeps going up. It says next and keeps going up by 1. If I press back, you'll see that it says back and it keeps going down by 1. Even to negatives, which probably isn't so good because there's no negative indexes. But you'll see that we can get up and down working pretty easily. So believe it or not, we've actually done all the complicated stuff. Well, mostly complicated stuff. Because we have it so we are tracking where we are in the index, right? Where we are in the array. So this is the index. We can be at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. And now we just got to show that to the user, like where in the index we are. So for example, this is what we'll do. We'll say document.query selector. And what we want to get is first, we'll go to the ID and let's just change the pick. So right now, the ID of the image for the profile is pick. So we'll put pick here. And we'll say .src because what we want to do is change the source of it every time we go up in the array, right? We want this picture to change. So we want to change the source. We want to set the source to whatever that profile image is. Easy enough. This is all we have to do. We go to the array of students. And we're going to go here and we're going to put, usually we put like 0, 1, 2, right? What index do you want from that array? But what we're going to use here is count. Remember, count is just where in the index we want to be. So if count is 0, we'll have 0. If we count as 1, it'll go up to 1. You get the point. And now students count. So the count will be like this whole object. So it'll be the whole student. And what we want from this is the profile image. So we'll use object notation. We'll say dot profile image. Okay. Now check out what happens here. When I press next, my index is 1. And remember at index 1, that's Ryan Reynolds' photo. So if you look here, look, Ryan at index 1, remember it goes 0, 1. You'll see that my profile image is the picture of Ryan Reynolds. Great. Now we could also put his name on the screen. So we could say document.query selector. Let's go to that div. The div is name. So we'll say hashtag name. We'll say .inner HTML. Remember, this is an image, so we're not changing the source. And we're going to change it to students, the count, and I'll just put the name. Remember, this is the array of students. We're going to where the index of wherever the count is, and then we're going to get the name of it. So if I try this again, press next, and look, Ryan Reynolds is there. Yeah, buddy. Things are working out pretty good, huh? 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 Pretty cool, huh? All right. Now the next button works, and obviously if we do next, we'll get an error because there is no 2 in our array. But the thing is now we want to go back. So when I go up, it should go to 1. When I press back, it should go back down to 0 and change it to whoever's 0 in the array. So let's work on this. And honestly, we could just copy and paste this over because there's really no change in what we're doing. We're still setting the picture to 0 wherever we are on the count, and we're still changing the name to wherever we are on the count. Remember, this count right here is telling what index we want, and that's the person that we want. I know that might have not made sense, but like count just says, I want to go to students. If count 0, I want the 0 index, and I want their profile image. And then I also want, once again, for the name, I want the students, that's the array. I want to go to count, where's the index, and I want their name. So let's try this again. If I go to next, Ryan Reynolds, back, Ryan Gosling. Yes, 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 yes. Now, this isn't done, but this is pretty much all the coding we're going to be doing for our video. Let me just say some things that I'd like you to do. Oh, sorry, there's a little bit more coding we're going to do, but this is what you guys need to do. You also have to add the quote and the superlative, so you should figure out how to add those to the screen. So I need the quote here, add quote, and add superlative. You want to do that yourself. I believe that you can figure that out. Another thing you should figure out how to do is, like I said, if we go past it, I want you to look at this. Like if I go like this, if I go to the second one and there's no second person, I get an error and it breaks the whole application. So really what I'd like you to do is if I get to the last thing in the array, it should loop back to the beginning. So like if I get to 5 and there's no sixth person, I should go back down to 0. Does that make sense? So you can keep going in circles. That's another feature you should add. And that's about it. Now the last thing I want to add here is this. Obviously when we start our application, there's no one here. So quickly, I would like to do this. Just grab these 2 lines of code. And when we start the application up, what we're going to do is start by adding these 2, running this code. What does this do? So since this is not in the event listener, when we start the program up, one of the first things it's going to do is go to document query selector.source, and it's going to go to student count.profile image, which is, it's going to students, which is the array, and it's going to go to count, which is starts off at 0, and it's going to change the profile image. It's also going to do the same thing for the name. So when we start the program, it's going to document query selector name.inner.html. It's going to go to the array, go to the count of 0, because that's where the program starts, and change the name to whatever that first name is. So when this is outside of that event listener, that's why we moved it also in here. And you'll see that now we have our first person there. When we start the program, it goes back. And this is looking pretty good already. All right, so that's it for this video. Remember to add those extra features, add the quote, add the superlative to this, and read the instructions, because for this exercise or this lab, this will be a 2-part lab. The first part will be due on Wednesday at 11:59. The final finish of that lab will be due, obviously, on Sunday at 11:59. All right, so look to the lab instructions to see what your first objectives are, and I look forward to seeing what you make. Bye.